intro.
Wait, hello, hi, friends and relatives. Welcome to another glorious episode of The Glorious Mess, featuring just two glorious messes today because our other messy bitch is just too booked and blessed for us.
Yes. But believe us, the two messiest are here.
You've got the peak messy, and actually, like Taylor's presence is a very grounding presence. And although
Yeah.
she has a messy side, she's less vocal about it. And then I think we fill it with all of our mess, and then she helps us get through it. And so now
Yes.
without her, God
Who
only knows what's
knows?
going to happen.
Yeah. This episode might be a little unhinged. I
And
love it.
it's Halloween. I had the strangest thing happen just now. I like came back. Okay, so first I came back to my house, and then I like parked my car, and then I got out, and then the neighbor was like, "Oh, something en français." So I was like, "What?" And then he said, "I think he was talking about the car was on." And then I was like, "Oh, the car is on. That's weird." And then I was like, "Oh." And then my intrusive thought was like, "Oh, they like are pulling a joke on me and like turning my automatic car starter on or something." And I was like, and then I got in the house, and then I went to open the window, and then the whole pot fell on the ground, dirt everywhere. Thank God my friend Calliope was here, and she was able to help me. And
Yeah.
then Jovi peed on the couch again. It was just this
This is Halloween. This is
I'm like, do I need to like smudge the whole damn place? Like, is the smudge even enough? I don't want to limit the power of sacred medicine, but I'm like, God, there is something upon me from spending my time in the English Montreal School Board, which is this contract that I've taken on that I don't need to take on any more work, but somehow I'm here. And yeah.
doing
Anyway,
it.
that's me. How are you? What's going on?
How am I? Well, leaning into our episode a couple episodes ago, the sad episode, I am right there. I should re-listen to our episode and take my own advice. That's kind of
Ugh.
where I'm at. I've also
Sometimes
started
it's
I've also
oh,
started smoking weed again. I quit for like 4 months. And because I've been so mentally, I was like, I just need the voices to stop. And now I can fully confirm that I think weed is what ruins my physical body. It like really calms my brain and it
yeah,
fucks up my physical body. And so now I'm in this like fighting with myself of like, I need to not because of my physical health, but it helps
yeah,
my mental health so much to a
yeah,
point. So I'm in
yeah.
a little bit of a ah,
And it's
state.
so funny. It's like, what is that like through line? What is the balance between the two? And sometimes it's funny to find like, sometimes you're like, okay, I can handle this physical pain. It's okay. And then you can get, but the mental piece is killing me. Like, I feel like I'm constantly back and forth
Yeah.
between the two. I'm like, God, if it's not my, if I get a good
Yes.
night sleep at night and I'm not anxious at night, then
Yeah.
I have anxiety in the day. And then if I'm
Right.
anxious at night, I feel good in the day. I'm like, why can't I just do
Yeah.
that?
It's interesting. There's definitely a duality, and I definitely feel like, like anything within moderation is
Yeah.
healthy. And I think now, though, like I'm at the state where I'm like, I just want to smoke weed. And when I'm smoke weed, I don't care about anything. So then I feel better, but really that is not long-term goal
Well,
either.
and goals are always positioned in this like this is the path and I'm going to take it. Like when you look at like SSRIs, for example,
Yeah.
serotonin selective reuptake inhibitors. Wow,
Wow. Come
surprised I
on.
knew that.
Yeah.
Antidepressants. When you take an
Yeah.
antidepressant, it's like you usually like take these for like long-term use for a lot of people, and like they really this actually little backstory that
Yeah.
did I tell you I got canceled on the weekend?
No, let's
Yeah,
again
yeah.
canceled again. You have like 9 lives, honestly.
Yeah. I was canceled and came back. So what had happened was I was like on Instagram and I was really feeling a type of way about like people who claim indigeneity and then immediately go to be like, okay, but how do I get status? I can't prove that my third grandma's 17th uncle who slept with my mom is indigenous. So now I can't get status. And it's like, wait, if your whole identity of being indigenous is solely for the purpose of benefiting, then I think you missed the whole point. And so for
Yes.
me, I'm like, I don't care if someone's 0.066666. Sorry, so many sixes. It's Halloween, but like percent indigenous. If
Yeah.
there's some part of you that's indigenous, I think that's beautiful. I think that's ancestral lineage. I will never fight a bitch on that. But when you then go like, okay, well now I'm going to go take this leadership position to support indigenous work forward, I'm like, oh, hold on. You don't even know what it means to be indigenous yet, and you have to spend time in community and finding spaces and learning traditional ways. And that's not to say you should take like no positions at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Mhm.
like in positions of power and leadership where you're envisioning something to move forward. I
Yeah.
think there's got to be a level set somewhere. And so what you see is these people who like kind of perpetuate these continued cycles of harm. So I post this, rant that I do from time to time on my Instagram. And then this human comments being like, wow, this is really offensive to like reconnecting Native people. And I was like, hey, I was like, did you actually like listen to the whole thing? Because I actually don't critique people who are reconnecting. I'm just
Yeah.
saying don't. Da, da, da. She's like, no, I turned it off right after the first 15 minutes. I was triggered. And I was like, well, my elders taught me that our triggers are pathways and knowledge spaces for us to like invite healing into our lives. And so I encourage you, like on your journey to reconnecting, you examine that. And like thinking I'm like on my plane having anxiety, being like, look, I'm so helpful.
Yeah.
And then it just kept kind of going. And I was like really trying my best to take a step back from this human
Yeah.
who I've never met and is a stranger online. And then they like screenshotted my responses and then like went on this like story rant of like how disrespectful I was and how rude I was. And yeah, it was great as well. But so all that to say, I was like, oh my gosh, this was really wild. And then it didn't go anywhere. I think, people can try to cancel me, but I think my reputation, my relationships speak for themselves. Like,
Yeah.
so I never but what I found out about this human was that they actually had just cold turkey stopped taking all of their antidepressants and like antipsychotic medications. And so they're having this full psychosis online and they're documenting everything. And so I was just like one part. So when this person was triggered and I'm like trying to help them explore that, they're like not in a space to receive any
No.
of that. And so it was
No.
funny again when you think of like things that work and why this reminded me of it is like you get pills and we think like this is the long-term universal thing that we're going to take for the rest of our lives to feel the thing. But like the only guarantee in life is that everything is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Everything is constantly changing. And so like weed might work for you today and it might not work for you tomorrow. It might work for you this morning. It might not work for you in the evening. And you're constantly sitting in this ever changing body that is like both beautiful and magnificent and deeply unsettling and uncomfortable
And unsatisfied.
and unsatisfied. And then,
Yeah.
obviously you need to go on fucking Grinder or go online and find some nasty porn video and flick your bean too, obviously, because you need some sort of satisfaction because the world's fucking hard.
You know? Like,
Like, just let me flick my bean in peace, okay?
yeah, no, for real. And I think there's so many, I mean, as somebody that has like evolved so much, anytime that starts to feel a little bit like familiar to past behaviors, even though I am still not that same person.
Yeah.
So I'm so much harsher on choices. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You quit weed for 4 months, now you're back because you're weak. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, where it's like I'm doing the best I can, and for me to like take a beat, maybe
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
smoke weed for a little bit, and that's okay. But there's so much like you're going back to the, abusing of whatever, and like that's not
Yeah.
necessarily true. I am not the same person as I was
Yeah.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 months ago. Like,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it's remembering to also just be gentle with yourself, just like how you would be for other people. And it's just hard when
But
it's dark and
you can
rainy.
never, for some reason, and it's the fear of the worst thing I think that keeps us back. It's like
Totally.
fear of I don't ever want to be that version of me again.
Again.
So I never. So then I am super harsh on myself, and I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
cannot be that person again. And yet we have to love that version, that scary part of ourselves, in order to actually
Yeah.
move forward. And I think that's like the worst. But
Huge.
the world isn't set up for that. We get
No.
caught up in like who we are and how we identify and existing in a way that makes sense because we want to make sense of chaos. But again, like that star
Chaos.
that
You
we
can't.
saw at that museum in Montreal or
Yeah.
that art science place, it's like,
Yeah.
no, we literally were born of chaos. So the whole idea of you wanting to not find chaos is like, no, you just have to find some comfort in
Yes.
chaos and know that
Yeah.
you will get through it because
Yeah.
you are through it, you're going through it, and you're still here with us.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is we program ourselves to be so fearful of that past behavior, past version of yourself, that you're
Mhm.
still then rooted in fear and shame, which is
Mhm.
just seeing all of your tumultuous feelings anyway, which is still making you feel more unsettled. And like, I hope that the next choice that I make will be because
Mhm,
I deserve to feel better, so I'm going to do
mhm,
this versus
mhm.
like, you better not do this so you don't become a shitty person again. Like, you're not,
Yeah.
the reframe has to be bringing yourself up more. I even hate the word positivity, but like
Be
something
positive.
doing something out of love for yourself versus doing something out of like shame for yourself. I think it's like, and that's hard because the
Yeah.
default is, of course, fuck
Critic.
me and fuck you.
And that's how the system of the world
Yeah,
thrives off of you thinking shitty about yourself.
yeah,
What gets you to invest in capitalism and buy stuff is that
yeah.
feeling like shit. So it thrives
And
off
you
of
need
you
to
feeling.
fix. You need to
Yeah.
fix this. You're never
Yeah.
fixed. You can always do something better. There's like this
And it's
constant,
you.
yeah, and
It's
it's
your
I'm the
fault.
problem for
Yeah,
sure.
nobody else.
No.
God forbid
Like
we
the
look
reason
at
why
like,
you're unsatisfied is because you haven't done X, Y, Z. And then once you do
yeah,
X, Y, Z, oh, still unsatisfied. Now you need to do this. And it's just
exactly.
like, I feel like the Grinch when he's like, oh, the noise,
And remember that, like, I think of like, rest in peace to Freddie, your hamster.
noise.
Rest in peace, shout out Freddie. But like, I just think of like that hamster wheel of like, just kind of keep going, going nowhere, going on this cyclical journey. And it's like, it's really fucking frustrating and it's really hard. And I think tying it into how what we're talking about today is like,
Yeah.
the only kind of way in that madness I find, and I know you will agree, like, is through accessing creativity and
Yes.
using the arts.
Yeah.
And that's
And
both scary.
different mediums of all of that for sure. It's so important. So that brings us into our next topic is see, we don't have our earth sign to keep us calm, cool, collected. We're going to be talking about how creativity is a great tool and a vessel for self-development, but also like therapy or self-discovery, a form of expression. It's one of my favorite things because I think any form of creativity, you don't have to be like an artist to do that. It doesn't have to be something that is your profession. You don't have to
Mhm.
be even good at it. Like I think capitalism has made good art and bad art be a thing.
Look
We're
how
really
look how bad this art is behind me. Like this is the
it's
ugliest
not
paintings.
bad. It is
Okay.
it is art. It's like Money Nest. RJ has a painting behind them that's like grunge, essentially.
It's pretty crazy. We're not watching the YouTube video. You're not getting to see the full effect. But yeah, Fred and I one day decided to buy paints and canvases, and we just painted. And it was very therapeutic, and it was a different spin because I feel like for both of us, we started with dance, like
Yes. Yeah.
dance and moving our body. Like for me, I always talk about like when you got served. No, I think it was Honey first. You got served Honey kind of came out in the same era, but like
Pump the
the
yard
special
too.
features on the DVD, you learned the choreo, and like I could
I
probably
didn't know that.
yeah, I probably could still do it. And that's where like I first learned how to dance and move my body was through like DVDs, and then I was able to train more and then be the mediocre icon that I am today. But
Well,
dance
like
was therapy.
that's a good segue though. So like how do you think when you got into dance like even moving aside like your career, but like how
Hmm.
did you think that that kind of movement and even still today is like benefits you? Like do you use that as a tool at
It's
all?
hard because I mean you've been there for like my full journey. It's like when I was young, dance was this fun, enjoyable thing. And then as I got more professional in it,
Mm.
it started to become the toxic space where like my parts of myself where I wasn't able to feel confident in, I allowed the industry to have the power over me to like, if I'm working, then I'm successful. If I'm
Yeah.
doing this Disney movie, then I'm good. And if I'm not good, if I'm not in those things, if I'm with DaCosta Talent, the top at the time,
Yeah.
God forbid if you still call it the top now, because we know the truth. But we know that there is no top agency, but there was this image, this idea of I needed to be in Vancouver, I needed to be on film and TV, I needed to be with DaCosta. And if I have these things, then therefore I'm successful. And then when I got to that place, all that led me to was like copious amounts of cocaine with random men that we met at 6 a.m. and we're staying up all night and going to go teach children. Uh, confession, going to go teach children after a night out, and then and then I'm moving apartments, and then I'm flying to Toronto to film a TV show. Like and it lost its fun for me. It lost its joy
Oh
because
shit.
it revealed those scary parts of myself that I wasn't comfortable sitting with, that I didn't feel secure in myself, and
Yeah.
that I needed an external validator to feel good, that the art needed to look a certain way, that people were really harsh, like the dance hall community, like I was like super harsh towards me because they're like, oh, who's this like white person teaching dance hall? And I was like, wait a minute, are you from community? Are you Jamaican? And I'm like, no. Oh, wait, you're not. So why are you trying to cancel me? And then again, you're looking at what you see of me and not remembering that I was raised in a first-gen Jamaican immigrant home and spent a lot of time in Jamaica and learned so much and spent so much time in the culture and was able to integrate that in. So dance got really fucking toxic too. And so I feel like now at 33, I'm starting to see it. Like I like just the little pop-ups. I taught a class this week of like subbing for someone, and I love these little moments, but now dance is more about like performance, joy, somatics. Like I do a somatics kind of warm up to like shake off excess energy,
Hmm.
to collect in the space, orient us to the room. And
Yeah.
then I try to make my choreo very accessible and in a way that naturally flows. Because there was a time where I felt like I needed to over complexify it so that it was like the best thing or that it would get the most views. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, like I don't care. Like I
Yeah.
just you want to feel good in your body and move it in a way that makes sense. And that's it.
Yeah. I definitely feel like dance becomes more complicated as soon as you make it a career of anything. But like dance has always been the only thing that makes sense to me. It's been so
Mm-hmm.
much as before I was even like in school. I would take for me it was like Michael Jackson DVDs. I had like the best of Michael Jackson music videos, and I would have a dance area and I would learn all of his dances through the video. Also
Yeah.
river dance. And my dad got so annoyed from me like tapping on the floor, he made me like a plywood box thing. And then I would just be like mimicking the
Shout out
tango
to your dad.
favorite. But like movement's always been medicine to me. It's a great way for um actually like unblocking like what you're saying, like somatically, like energy that's trapped in the body, trauma that's trapped into the body, like
Mm-hmm.
emotions coming to the surface. I do a lot of embodiment directorial stuff now as I've gotten
Mm-hmm.
older. And I will say that one thing that I always pride myself in my choreography is it's always going to feel good. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some moments that are impactful, but I've never approached, even like in my teaching, even as I made it a career, as a way that's like commercialized. It's always been like, what feels good for me? What does the music make me feel? What are we emoting here?
Yeah.
Um, and actually, like, I've learned a lot of like people skills through movement, like
Yeah.
spatial awareness. Come on,
Yeah.
moving spacing,
Yeah. Yeah.
problem solving skills, not mention like the athleticism. It's a great way to like get your body moving without going to the fucking gym, which if you're a gym person, good for you. I am not a gym person by
No,
choice.
if you're a gym person, like fuck you. You're not happy there either, and we know it. So at least we're being honest. Like, let's be honest. Nobody's having fun there. Nobody. I don't care what you say. I don't care. I watch all y'all like, and the ones who look hot and are on Instagram, and like I'm like, I think you're in it for the views and the validation. So like, are you really happy? Is anyone here? Are any of us happy anywhere?
I
It's
will
fun.
say though, I have become a little bit of a gym person though because I need to cross train to protect my joints. But I will say I do
Mhm.
appreciate the like the physicality of it without having so much emotional connection because dance, even if you're just moving, there's always some sort of like emotional attachment to that,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
an
yeah.
identity where if you go to the gym, you're just like, yeah, bicep curls.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Um,
Roids. I can't wait to
there's
do ketamine all weekend.
oh my
That's what they
God.
say, right? Do gym heads do ketamine?
I have no idea. All I know is that I go to a really old school gym and there's a woman's side, so I get to like hide out over there, which it's super
But
gym.
have you ever tried this? Have you tried? I mean, I know you do it through your own artistry, but like in your classes and stuff, like whenever I'm going into a combo now, I tell people to like find a story or an example of a time when X happened. So like I was like, come through. It was surface level engagement, but I was like, when is a time where like somebody like you're in traffic on your way to work in the morning and somebody just pushes their way through and you're like, no, fuck you, I'm going through. Or like someone isn't holding the door and you're pushing away. Like, what are these stories? And when you connect it to storytelling, then it becomes a space, I think, to release emotional
Totally.
traps.
And like at the end of the day, like dance is universal. Like it's the one like language, if you will, that can doesn't matter where you're from, what kind of ethnicity you are, what kind of social stature you're from, what kind of what
Yeah.
country, it doesn't matter what language you speak.
Yeah.
It's universal and it's been used as communication and expression like from the beginning of time, and society has made it something that you can be good and bad at. You know, like at the base it was a primal expression.
and
And
and not and like I would say even take it further or get more specific in like
yeah,
capitalism colonization. So like I
yes.
was like I think we were doing a Chenet turn and I was like no, like I don't want a Chenet turn, like stop whitening a Chenet turn. This is a black movement grounded in the earth. And
Yeah.
when I spent time learning like West African,
Mhm.
these were rituals, these were stories. It's like when we commercialize to make something a product, we make everything clean, crisp, clean, sharp shapes. And don't get me wrong, I love clean fucking dancing. I do love it, I will admit. But in the same way, I'm like, but that cleanliness can't sacrifice the joy and the energy. And so I realized
Yeah.
I like clean, sharp shapes with a performance, a connection to the energy. And so then what happens is you see a lot of dancers, movers, people like get the shape and execute it so well, but there's nothing behind it. And so it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel uncomfortable watching it. You feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No,
it.
I agree for sure. And fun brain fact, dance actually helps you use the right and the left side of your brain. And so neurons are flying. And long term, it actually helps you from not getting things like Alzheimer's. I mean, you still might, but your chances get
No,
small.
yeah, I remember reading a study. It's like, yeah, you have to create all these neural pathways, and because you're constantly learning new phrases and movements and things, it's like you get you just have so many synapses that like Alzheimer's comes in, and like in most brains, it's like this gaping hole, and Alzheimer's
Yeah.
comes in, and it's like I'm here. Whereas like in a dancer brain, it's like
Find the hole. You
no,
can't. It's a web.
yeah, it's a
Web of
web,
failed six-step pirouette
yeah.
combos.
But like in this storytelling piece, like, and then shifting to like different approaches, and what I think I've had to do is like shift into more like actually writing stuff. As you've
Mhm.
seen through my social media, I write a lot more,
Yeah.
and people engage a lot less because they're like, I just want to see you look sexy and dance for me. And I'm like, I want to write about my feelings, and people don't enjoy it as much.
I enjoy it. I think it's great. So
I
writing and
do.
journaling is also another great way that you can still be creative and process, through a lot of things, whether that is, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the things that I process things out loud, and a lot of the
Hmm.
time I would do the mistake if I would talk about things, not actually feeling how I'm feeling to people, and then it would
Yeah.
fall on, I'd say, used ears, and then that would get construed. Where really I just need to talk out loud. Half the time I'll be talking about my feelings, and then I'll say something, and then sit back and be like, "Wow, that is actually how I'm feeling." So writing gives that. I hate writing. I
Yeah.
can't. My hand hurts. I have terrible spelling. My my spelling is way less than my vocabulary. My vocabulary is way, I know how to say a lot more more words than fucking spell them.
Don't
Um,
worry.
but but voice notes I feel like are the same kind of thing, or like even audio entry, but
Yeah.
I do there is a more of a intentional practice with
Yeah.
taking time for writing or journaling.
And time to just reflect because sometimes, yeah, I'll
Mhm.
do voice notes to myself or I'll do video diaries. And I'll feel like
Yeah.
such a main character in like an MTV, like, hey, diary, today. Like, but it's like it's just taking time to like one, orient yourself to like the physical space where oh my God, that spider's huge.
Where is it? You have a spider?
Holy fuck, Bronwyn, it's so big. I can't move this set up, but like,
Are you gonna be okay?
yeah, I'm like, okay, it's chilling. Holy fuck, that's huge. Anyway, the taking time. See, if I didn't orient myself to the space, I wouldn't know that there could be a deadly spider right in my corner. And that's how you grow. I think that's how you grow. It's how you like, it's how you get through things. My God, it's how you dispel mistruths. um, it's friggin' in everything. Connects you into the moment. And I'm a big advocate. I know we were saying like it's hard to write sometimes, but like it is important sometimes because of how we've evolved, especially if you're like older, to
Yeah.
use that pen and paper because it slows down the mind. The mind can think so fast when we're typing, we're in 500 different places, but like writing pen to paper can be really helpful in slowing down the mind.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it's a stress reducer. I feel like how many times have you written a letter or something that, and it's a release, you're still processing that out of your body. And so much of
Hmm.
us is we like are taught to like push things down, not process or, save it for face-to-face communication. But I always say
Hmm.
if you write out everything that you're feeling first and you feel like at that point you still need to maybe, for example, like tell that person how you're feeling, then that's I think a clear headspace than you just going off the
Right.
cuff. And
And
it's grounding,
sometimes
it's emotional processing support. It actually uh studies have shown that it improves your immune health. So people that write and journal don't get sick so often because your nervous
see
system isn't in override so often.
that's
Who
why
knew?
who
Maybe
knew
that's
you
my
need your
fucking
immune
problem.
system.
I don't journal, so I have an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna call you out, but I need you need to self facilitate your journey to learning. I can't speak anymore. But no, yeah,
Um,
journaling is a big bestie
and like poetry. You've been
in
saying some short story in
poetry.
poetry.
Because I did a creative like workshop with like indigenous youth from flying communities in Thunder Bay on the weekend.
Yeah,
And then like before I got canceled. And then in this like class, like I was nervous because I'm like, oh, I don't know how youth of today are gonna like engage with this. And so
yeah.
we did the stream of consciousness from the artist's way first. And then after we did stream of consciousness, they just like free flow wrote for like 10 minutes. And I was like, that's brilliant. And then
Wow.
I introduced them like haiku, free verse narrative poetry. And then I was like, hey, go write. And then they like and I introduced them to a bunch of different like indigenous authors and like
Oh, cool.
and then I posted on my Instagram. They like made the then they also in the end had like I give them like clays, paints, da da da, and a bunch of them like made clay figures and like art. And I was like, oh, this was so fun, and it was so interesting to see young people like 13 to 17 like engaging in such an active way. But like, yeah, it was really cool.
I that's such a good segue. I've actually recently started doing this art therapy or art process painting thing. Shout out to Lisa Kirk. My mom on the side was a mental health or my mom was a mental health nurse and then she would help facilitate these like art therapy things.
Yeah,
Anyway, so I signed up for this 10 weeks course. We're on week 5 and it's been actually a hybrid of journaling and process painting. And so what happens is we're doing these archetypes. So there's I think there's ten archetypes. So far we've done the fashionista, your the athlete, the artist, the creative, and I can't remember the other one. Anyway, it's been really interesting though because we've it's not about creating like a pretty picture or a process. We do this kind of journaling with prompts with like how does your athlete show up in your life? Where is it empowered? Where is it disempowered? Where does your fear lie? And each archetype has like a base. So like your athlete is representation of like your physical body or and it has a strong attachment to the earth. And then we do this like meditative or drop in where we call that archetype to the surface, and then a certain vision will appear for some folks. And then you just paint for like 40 minutes uninterrupted. And you start with maybe this vision that you saw, but then you kind of just go from an intuitive place and you pick colors and you do whatever. And then you share. And then we're able to like talk
mm,
about like, it's great. It's me and like 6 other like elderly rowdy ladies. It's like them the youngest one, but it's been really cool just to see also just like a different generation and realize that your shit never goes away. We all have problems. You keep
yeah.
thinking you're gonna hit like 50 and you're like, then there's just peace and I just live out my days. like out to pasture, like
That's the
mentally, then it's not true.
no,
Uh,
I find I meet people all the time in their 40s and 50s. I'm like, wait, I thought it gets better. It
better.
doesn't.
No, just
Doesn't get better. I just accept it more, I
yeah.
guess.
But it's been interesting because then you share what came through, what felt, and then they're actually able to reflect. And some people see stuff in your painting that's not there. And Lisa has just been a great facilitator because she can see, for example, my athlete, I did like arms like
I loved
this.
your oh.
And then it came out the letter C and number three actually mean the same thing. So there's some like hidden like numerology or stuff
Mm,
that's like wrapped in a representation of like one of my paintings ended up having a line with some new growth, and that was like a symbol of something. So it's just been really cool, but
yeah.
this is long-winded, but what's been really nice is to have this space that's a creative medium that I'm not attached to
Mm-hmm.
earning an income. And so
Mm-hmm.
dance used to be that for me, but now I'm a creative trying to make my ebb and flow thrive in a capitalistic fucking society. So my art is now for profit
Yeah.
versus health or mental well-being.
Or
And so
joy.
or joy, yeah. And it's still there, obviously. You do what you love, but it still works. So it's been really
Yeah.
refreshing to just use this creativity as like a vessel that's not attached to anything. It's not going anywhere. And it reminded me, this is why I want to do this episode. It reminded me how important that tools like that and attaching to your inner child,
Mm-hmm.
and attaching to like that creative spark is so important just for overall wellness. Like so
Mm-hmm.
often we're talked to, your mental health, your physical health. And really, like your spiritual health is attached
Mm-hmm.
to your creativity. And so, like, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many of us that get snuffed out and then it just stops being this thing where
Yeah.
you have these tools to learn further about yourself in this way versus like paying $150 to have talk to somebody. Like, yes, therapy is, talk therapy and all those mediums, but they still cost something. And I think that these are ways that you can just reconnect to yourself for free or very little money,
Mm-hmm.
which can be beneficial. Like visual
Yeah.
art, that can be drawing, painting, it can be abstract, it can be not, it can be writing, it can be journaling. And if you're not a dancer, like, or if you are a dancer, just fucking get up and like thrash around for nothing. Don't film
Yeah.
it, don't put it on Instagram, don't fucking like
Oh, I see some of those
dance in the
posts like
field.
just dancing for me today. And it's like,
Yeah,
really? What
I
are you
had a
dancing for you?
I had the and it's interesting. This is my high thought last night. I got up and I freestyled for a little bit. My second thought was, "Oh fuck, I should have filmed that."
Ah,
And I was like, "No." And then so, then you do it again and then I was like, "Oh, well, I filmed it because I want to see the process. I want to like also just as a reminder that at one point in my life I was happy enough to dance around for fun and I don't do that anymore."
yeah.
Um, But it's so interesting how that has not been attached to like it needs to be captured still,
Yeah.
even if it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just for me or putting it up or oh.
Oh, damn. Blackout.
Anyway, so it's all very interesting. That was my long-winded, but creativity, it's important. Do
And
it.
paint with old
Awesome.
ladies.
And paint with old ladies.
Like I
Yes.
can't stress that's the takeaway from this episode is paint with old ladies. But just create I think just like creating something
Yeah.
and tapping into creativity is the way to get that spiritual health piece. I think we lose it when we're like, oh, it means I gotta go to church. And like, if you go to church, work, bitch. I actually love singing in church. Like, I think church singing is fun. Not like Catholic, like Hillsong, even though Hillsong's problematic. I know I watched the documentary, but like that kind of like fun rock vibe
Hmm.
thing. I love singing, right? But it's like these spaces, wherever it is, it doesn't have to be so formalized. Like moments of spirit come through when we allow our creativity to flow.
Yeah, I am in.
Can I get an
And
amen?
and also not only that, like I think you can suck at it. Like if that's your concern, like so many people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take pottery. Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go sign up for this paint class." Like you don't have to be fucking good. Go to Dollarama, buy
Yeah.
some paints, get your fingers in it, and just like squish it around. And
If
like
you,
focus on how it feels. Buy a notebook,
huh?
write some stuff. Like don't spell check it. Like I like, I think there's still this like, oh, but I have to be good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't. the soul food is coming from you from the whole process, not what
Yeah,
it looks like at the end. Look at RJ's
yeah.
painting. Like,
Look at all these paintings. Look, they're terrible. But
these are some of my paintings.
if you can suck genitalia, you can suck at art.
Wow, that's a disclaimer. And practice makes perfect for both of those things.
Practice things perfect. I think we can conclude our wonderful episode. We've given a lot to these folks today, I think. What do
We
you
have.
think?
I also think that's good.
Well, we hope that you are encouraged. I hope you explore creativity, that you discover yourself. It's a journey, not a destination. Like,
Yeah.
keep fucking going. Keep
You're
discovering,
you have
creating.
You have homework. I encourage you to pick one of these three mediums in the next 2 weeks before we drop our other episode. And like, I was gonna say share it and tag us, but that defeats the purpose. But let us know in the comments if you've done something or how it felt, or
Yes.
sometimes sharing it encourages other folks to do it as well.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, if you keep your inner child alive and well, I think as I get older, I think you realize that that's when life stays good.
Mm-hmm. 110%. Thank you all for
Mhm.
listening. We'll catch you next time on the flippity flop.
Be safe out there, folks. See ya.
Peace.